What's happening?
Morning.
Morning. How are you?
Busy, but good.
Well, thanks for squeezing this in today. We really wanted to, talk about you and get to know you. This is Ashley, and I say Gaboriault. Is that right?
Nah, it's sort of like the cookie, so like Oreo. So Gaboriault.
Gaboriault. Okay.
Yep, it's a French name. It's got a lot of letters for,
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in your world?
So I took a long roundabout way of getting here. More or less, what happened was I always sort of loved cooking, and I wanted to go to Vogue School for culinary, and my mom, rightfully so, said to, go to college and get a real job. To be frank, and so it was kind of funny. I went and did that, and very well meaning my mom, but I obviously am not a great listener. Went to college, got a degree in government, left, went back, got a degree in education, master's in education.
Where did you do all this?
I got my first 2 degrees at Suffolk University, and then I started a third at Regis University in Denver. So got 3/4 of the way through a master's in nonprofit management, and then I started helped start a nonprofit in Boston called Educate Boston. We were doing after school programming in the Dorchester and low income areas, and then unfortunately, life and struggles to get funding and things like that. But I was teaching about how, who you are today is not necessarily going to be that far different from who you are, 6 years from now when you graduate. If you hate sitting in school now and being in a classroom, you're probably still going to hate it then. Figure out who you are, what you want to do, and sort of just follow your dream type of speech. And one of the kids basically was like, well, what did you want to be when you were my age? And I was like, I really just wanted to be a chef. And they're like, well, you didn't. Why should I? And so long story short, that was the point. I decided to pivot my career and go back to trying to cook. So I talked my way into my first cooking job and then didn't look back. My career has been very much a fake it till you make it type of career where I just sort of keep throwing myself into things that I'm not 100% ready for and see if I can make it work. So what was
your first your first job in this?
So my first job was as a cook for City Girl Cafe, which is a tiny little spot in I think it's technically Cambridge, but it's right on the Cambridge-Somerville line. In Inman Square. But unfortunately, they are no longer up and running. But it was an awesome experience. I was doing, rolling out pizza, making pasta. It was awesome. They really gave me my first sort of good morning. They sort of gave me my first shot at cooking.
Yeah.
So that was awesome.
Oh, that's really cool. I mean, your story is pretty interesting. I mean, you are a machine. You're getting all these degrees. You're doing all this schooling, and then you just say, "Screw it. That's not what I love." I love that.
That's, I don't know that I love that when my student loan checks come in, or bills come in every month. But I try not to regret the amount I've spent on school. Well, I like to joke that I basically, I deal with the government. I educate my cooks, and restaurants are basically a nonprofit. So I like to think I use my degrees.
Well, I'm sure you do. That's a lot of information to take in, and I'm sure it's interesting. But as you move forward from making that big switch, which is a big switch, what would be what was was there a pivotal point where you were like, well, I'm gonna surge forward, or were you nervous at some point?
Probably. I don't know that it probably would have appeared as nervousness for me, so much as just like an anxious excitement. Um, More or less, I'm the type of human that, like, if you tell me I can't, it just makes me want to do it 1,000 times more. And so every time I told someone that I wanted to do this and they told me I was crazy, it just sort of put fuel on a fire. And I mean, it wasn't an easy transition by any means. I worked 3 jobs for a long time trying to make ends meet. Your average starting wage as a cook is like $13-14, especially almost 10 years ago. That was a good rate. Like,
Sure.
It was definitely a struggle, and I definitely had some support from friends and family. And if I had to do it again right now, I would probably, if I was 10 years younger, still do it in a heartbeat. But I don't think I could have made the transition at 33. That's for sure. It's a lot of work, and when you're first starting out, if you want to be good, it's a lot of hours.
Yeah. So who are people that that you look up to, or people that you enjoy in the industry?
I feel like that's such a big question. It's because it's like, there are the people I'm friends with and I've worked with here and like who have been mentors who are, probably lesser well known. One of them was my chef when I was working for the Gaboriault, who was Scott Jones. But I don't know if he's cooking anymore actually. But he was really sort of informative in terms of making sure that like I thought about things in a creative way, but also he really taught me how to like sort of vocalize what I need. And so that was really important for me. Whereas, other chefs like, Massimo Bottura or Alex Atala or Sean Brock, like those are, or, Wiley Dufresne, honestly, WD-50, was sort of the first thing of its kind. And, but those are all people that I met Wiley once, during the filming of, Eat Bobby Flay, which was sort of awesome. Probably the highlight of the day, honestly. But I also I haven't met any of the others. So it's it's hard to say that I look up to and respect anyone, because for me, it's there are all these people who, are well-known chefs, but it's if you're not in your kitchen, then it's not your food anymore. It's your name for sure, but it's not your food anymore. And so do I know, or do I even know your food at this point? It's I can read it in a book and I can try and make it myself, but I don't know. The idea of the celebrity chef no longer being sort of a working chef bothers me. I don't know. I rambled a little bit, but
yeah, no, that's fine. I was actually thinking even just your peers, locally, people that you're oh, I really love what they do, and it's a support and inspire each other. Is there some type of group like that with you?
There used to be. I think at this point, the only chef I talk to consistently and bounce ideas off of is probably my buddy John. John Auerman. He's fantastic. They run the Mimi's Chuka Diner, and they're actually using our space as a prep kitchen in the mornings, and then they're doing all of their offsites out of it. And so he's trying to open up his own spot. I think that was one of the things that I did really enjoy about being with the Barbara Lynch Collective was sort of having direct access to peers. It's hard when you A, live in Providence, and B, work in Quincy, to have a solid group of peers that you rely on and challenge each other. And I mean, you're all working the same hours, but you're not in the same places. And so it's a little more challenging nowadays.
So how did you? So you're at Idle Hour now. How did that all come about? That's been what? So it's 2 years old now.
2 years old. Yep.
Yeah.
So Matt and I met. God, it seems like forever ago. Actually met when we opened the Beat Hotel in Cambridge, Taylor. It's now.
Oh, I heard a lot about the Beat Hotel. You were part of that?
Yeah, I was one of the opening sous chefs.
Cool.
And he was one of the opening front of house managers.
Mm.
And so that was where we first really met. I was in way over my head. It was my first job as a sous chef, and it was totally like a very strong fake it till you make it type concept. I talked them into hiring me as a sous chef, and I had only had like 8 months experience cooking professionally at all. Mm. And so it was a very hard it was a very hard experience, a very challenging experience. Not only to get my first sous chef gig 8 months in, but to also be opening a restaurant.
Yeah.
So we would chat late night, like after the craziness of the day was sort of gone, and over. We used to have like dino nuggets in house for like family meal or for kids meals and stuff like that. And we made like a dino nugget poutine or a dino nugget chicken piccata or like a dino nugget spring roll.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? What is a dino? Is that just a chicken nugget?
It's a chicken nugget shaped like dinosaur.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I have kids. I don't know why I've never seen one, but anyway, good.
Yeah. And so we would sort of just talk about like, what they were doing right, what we thought they were doing wrong, and all this other stuff. And sort of the idea that like, one day we're going to have our own place and we're going to do it so much better and blah, blah, blah. And, all the young egotistical, like cocky, feelings that you have when you're younger and less experienced.
Yeah.
And so we sort of we kept in touch over the years. We actually crossed paths in another company. And then finally about, I guess 3 years ago at this point, he called me up and was like, it's time. And we're doing it. And I was like, all right, cool. Let's do it. We started looking at spaces. It took some time, but then one day he called me and was like, I got one. And I was like, cool, where is it? And he's like, Quincy. And I was like, oh, okay. like, all right, well, I was expecting Boston, but like, yeah, let's do it.
Well, I think the location, and especially with like just things kind of like teaming over there, like things are happening. And I do think that even though it's COVID times, I'm really liking the idea that like when you walk down there, it's cool. It's getting happening. And it's, you have nice neighbors and stuff. As far as like they're putting out good products and stuff. And I love the look of Idle Hour. I like the choice of colors in there. I like there's a big painting or I don't know if it's a painting or a picture of Prince, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we themed the bathrooms. And so the third one is Prince. And so there's 2 pictures of Prince. It's all purple.
So you've been there for 2 years. It's a really interesting story. I heard lots of cool stuff, and I don't know if Beat Hotel's even open, but it was really cool. But what a interesting thing to be like, you guys finding your relationship in that craziness, and then starting your, believing in each other to start something. Did you know him before this, Beat Hotel?
No, that was where we first met.
That's cool.
It feels like ages ago. I think it was probably close to 8 years ago at this point, maybe more. I don't know.
You did a lot of schooling young and made that change quick.
Yeah, yeah. I did undergrad in 3 years because I didn't want to spend any more money, and so I just cranked it all out, and then because it was cheaper to do it that way, and then I just took a year off, and then I went into my master's. And then I rolled straight from my first master's into my second master's. I feel like I've had 15 careers at this point. I've worked as a legal assistant. I've worked for Denver Public Housing. I've, you know, yeah, I mean, I did some politics and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, I feel like.
What are you, some type of crazy woman?
Yeah, no, 100%. No one's denying that I'm crazy.
I'm just kidding.
No, well, my friends will tell you that. My friends tell me it all the time.
You know, if there's something that when you're looking at Idle Hour, is there, you know, as far as the drinks and then as far as your menu, what are the things that you feel are super signature, and even if they're not signature, are ones that you're like the things that you're like, we hit it out of the park and they make you really proud? So if someone was to go to Idle Hour, you're like, I want you to have this.
All right. So drink wise, I couldn't tell you at this point. Only because I got sober about a year and a half ago. And so no idea what the drinks taste like, but I'm sure they're fantastic. Well, they were fantastic before.
Congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. And so, I mean, I'm sure Brian cooks up a lot of awesome stuff. One of my favorites used to be a brunch cocktail, and it was called the Wake Me Up, and it was like bourbon coffee and who cares what else? I mean, it was fantastic. So definitely check out brunch, and I think the Wake Me Up is still probably on there. But all of his cocktails are fantastic. He does such a phenomenal job, and they're super tasty and well balanced, and he's always looking at like new products and making sure that like we have the staples, but then also like we have a middle section of our bar that has rotational spirits, and so you know, he'll only get like a bottle or two of something, and then we'll run through that, and then he'll switch it out, which very much keeps with the theme of Idle Hour. I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is how much we change our menu.
How much do you?
A lot. So we, God, what was the number? So so when we first opened, from August 23rd to December 31st, we went through something stupid. And I think it was something like, I want to say it was something like 70 something menus. And like a lot of that was
a lot.
Yeah. And a lot of that was like really trying to figure out the neighborhood and like, how do we format it? How many items do we need to have? What do we need to have of each? Like, what's too scary for Quincy? What's not scary enough? Like, and in terms of like product usage and like flavor profiles and things like that, because we were really doing something different. Like, you know, a lot of restaurants in Quincy, you can walk in and you don't even have to look at the menu. You can just order. And we were not trying to be that. And so, like we were trying to find our place and the right balance. And so that was tricky. But now I'd say we probably change one or two things a week. I've slowed down in how much I change it, but mostly just because of COVID, honestly. It's being short-staffed and trying to just make it through everything. But I love to keep things super seasonal. I love these farms wherever and however possible. You know, we've gotten in half pigs, we've gotten in quarter cows, we've gotten in, and like we'll do the whole breakdown and everything. I think that the thing that I'm probably most proud of is sort of the ability for our regulars to love coming in and not necessarily knowing what they're going to get before they get there. That's something that I take a lot of pride in, is sort of the idea that like I've taken a neighborhood, like I've been able to help create a neighborhood spot where you don't have a default. And so, I mean, we thought there were a handful of things that were never able to come off the menu, and we've been able to kick them off. And people keep coming back, and so that's been awesome. I think right now, currently on the menu, it would probably be So I just put a brand new carrot dish on, and it's sort of just playing with flavors, and like it's like purple heirloom carrots that are roasted until burnt, which sounds counterintuitive, but it actually creates this really like smoky, like roasted flavor, and like creates a cool texture. And then that's warmed up with some farro, and then a maple vinaigrette with some parsley, and it's fantastic. And that dish is vegan, and like you wouldn't know, like it's so good. And then we have a beet dish that I just put on the menu. That's roasted beets, and then I take Vermont creamery goat cheese and whip it with fennel pollen, honey, and a little bit of olive oil, and so it's like roasted beets with goat cheese, and then some like dressed greens, and that's pretty awesome. And like I like to keep things very simple. I think one of the most popular things we have on the menu right now that I'm not mad about is it's basically orange chicken. But
I like that that I'm not mad about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's some things that we put on because it's what people want, and like those are the things I'm usually like, whatever. Like, I'm not excited about it. I don't care if you like it, but like I'm glad you're happy.
Yeah.
So it's a play on orange chicken. So it's like the flavors you expect, but basically we take whole chickens, break them down, and then the breast gets pan roasted in a little bit of oil, but mostly butter. And then the thighs get confit, which is like cooking slowly in fat. And then we pull the thigh, and then it's like peppers, onions, garlic, the confit thighs, rice, and then an Asian sauce that we make out of like soy, ginger, garlic, and a bunch of curry and chili flake, as well as some miso. And then that gets tossed in with the rice and scallions. And then we take the pan that we roasted the chicken in and hit it with fresh oranges so that they sort of char a little bit. And then some stock that we made from the bones. And so it's like, it's orange chicken, but it's not orange chicken the way like people are used to. It's not like battered, sticky, fried, and covered in cornstarch.
Well, when I go in and try the orange chicken, I'll tell you what I think.
Yeah,
sounds great.
Yeah.
So if there was like another experience, I know we talked about you with Bobby Flay a little bit, or you brought that up, but I wanted to talk about that because now, like understanding your path a little more, what a crazy, weird reward and reinforcing type of experience that must have been.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a shock to me. I mean, I went on there thinking more or less, I know it's going to air right after Idle Hour opens. That's going to be awesome publicity. And so.
Wait, so that happened right about opening time. So
we filmed that the summer before we even opened.
So 2018 or 17? 17.
Yeah, 17. So like the pictures that like when they do like the montage of photos before, like I'm in drink at that point. And so like I have a drink chef coat on and I'm cooking in drink because that's where I was before I went to Idle. And so it's funny because it's like I'm talking about Idle Hour, and because I know at that point, I know when it airs it's gonna be open, but it's like I can't say a lot about it because it like I was still painting the walls at that point, like like quite literally, and so like there aren't even pictures of inside because it's like there couldn't have been. It was a construction zone mess. And so it's funny to be like talking about Idle Hour, but all of the photos while I'm talking are at drink. And so, yeah, I knew it would air after we had opened.
So drink must not look like that.
No, they were great.
They were.
I cleared it all through them first.
Yeah.
They knew I was leaving. They knew I was filming. And so I think, I'm sure it was still great publicity for them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think that we can always learn from other people, but clearly you are motivated and hardworking, and while you were talking about the switching of the menu all the time, I was trying to think, like, does the average person know that the menu switches? And I mean, I guess your loyal clientele does, but is it known in the community that you do it? That you do it, but like, is there some like slogan that you have? Because as far as I know, people have specials, but they don't switch the menu. So having a completely different menu or a varied menu so much often, seems like bold and new. So I was just wondering how you promote that.
Honestly, it's funny. We don't really promote it. A lot of people just want what they want, and if it's not there, they'll walk right home.
Yeah.
And so, like, we've had people be like, who've walked in and been like, "This is still on the menu, right?" And they're like, and when they're like, "No," they're like, "Oh," and then they'll leave. And it's like, what? Like, you just said you really enjoyed your meal last time, and that was a highlight. Like, what? Why not come in and try like what else I'm doing? Like, and so it's. I mean, don't get me wrong. We definitely. I mean, we highlight it in our own way. It's more of one of those things where you're just sort of playing around with marketing, trying to find the right balance of like, we slowed down how much we rotate the menu because we got so much, pushback from the community to be like, people want to enjoy things longer. Like, why don't you let them stick around? And so, I've slowed down heavily on like how often I change things, or at least how often I replace menu items. And so like it's constantly rotational, but it's not like I'm always replacing everything. And so I'll give things, a few weeks to sort of run their course, and then that'll go away. But yeah, it's hard to explain, but I think what we try to do is just promote like, everything's from scratch, everything's fresh, nothing's coming in, pre-made and frozen or pre-made in a jug or pre-made in a bag. This is literally like, we're going to do things scratch. We're going to do things the right way. And, just really push sort of as many of my ideals as possible without sounding like nuts. Because like I could definitely go on for hours about the sustainability and agricultural practices.
Well, I do find it impressive. It's a lot more work. You're putting a lot on your shoulders because it's so difficult to have a product that people enjoy. Period. I mean, it is. So to actually be able to sustain while evolving and revolving is pretty cool, and it's kudos to you. That's pretty awesome.
Thanks. It's like some people don't realize the sheer volume of work that has to go into like a scratch kitchen, and so it's one of those things where it's like I just want I want you to come in and I want you to enjoy your meal and I want you to experience it in a way that like you want to come back and eat more. But like I also I need, we're not, if something's wrong I also want you to tell me because I want to be able to fix it. And I take a lot of pride in my food and I want what we're doing to be portrayed in that way.
So you in 2017 you beat Bobby Flay. What was that dish, and do you put that dish every now and then into the Idle Hour menu? So
it was chili cheese fries, my take on it was a pork out the store chili cheese fry. So it was pork marinated in pineapple and onion and a bunch of different types of chilies. And then I did that with a salsa verde and like a pineapple pico. And it was on the menu for the night after it aired. It went on the menu.
Yeah.
Then it went on, I think, for the 1 year anniversary of it. And it'll probably never be on again. And that's mostly to do with like our kitchen setup. I don't think most people also realize how small our kitchen is. Like we seat, not in non-COVID times, we seat 84 people at a time. And so, but there's only ever 2 people cooking. And so when you sort of...
Is there a prep cook or just?
So, I mean, everything's screwed up right now, but like generally speaking, we're about a 6 to 7 person like team. But during service, it's only ever 2 people cooking. Like that's the most people we can get onto the line without it being cramped and uncomfortable and unable to work. And so the volume of food that we push out is crazy. I mean, we'll do 300-400 plates a night, and just 2 people. Like, and
that's a lot.
Yeah, and so, I mean, that's like your Friday, Saturday. Obviously, it's a little different earlier in the week, but you know, if we're doing something like that, like we don't have a salamander. Like, it's not like I have a torch on the line, and I don't have like all of the like crazy plates that like I could shove the fries in. Like, there's so many limitations to sort of the execution of it, that the few times we've done it, it's just been the biggest pain in the butt. And so, despite the fact that people are always asking for it, it's like, and the other thing too is like, you know, I can't get better if I'm only ever cooking the same things. I'm like, you know, you talk about the same dish for a couple of years and cook it for a handful of months, and you know, well. Well, I'm sure people probably won't love that, but that answer. But yeah, I don't know that it'll ever be back.
I think that's. I mean, it's commendable. I think that it's a. You know, from what I know, it's a new look at doing what you're doing. So I think that it's inspiring and it's unique, and anything that's not normal, I admire.
Thanks.
I think that's pretty great. I know you have, you know, you took your time with us today, and I really appreciate it. I think, you know, you've had great success and a crazy path to get where you are. And I hope everybody goes down to Idle Hour and checks you out. And I hope you have a great wedding today.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I'm very happy that we got to talk today. You seem great, and I look forward to meeting you. I'm going to swing in and say hi, and I'm going to grab a dish, but I'll make sure I'll come say hi, okay?
Yeah, please do. Our brunch game is strong, so if you end up deciding to do that, it's never going to be a bad choice.
All right, well, maybe I like a good brunch, so I'll be
I do hear I make fantastic pancakes.
Okay, all right, awesome. Well, I look forward to it. I hope you have a great wedding, and wishing you happiness and healthiness, and I can't wait to check out your stuff. Great talking to you.
Great to talk to you too. Thanks so much.
All right, peace.
Bye.